What if I told you that the story you know about World War II is only part of the truth? That behind the images of soldiers storming beaches and the tales of great leaders stood a shadowy web of secrets, hidden motives, and untold stories that shaped the modern world. Today, we're going beyond the headlines and school textbooks to uncover the truth behind World War II, the war that changed everything. Welcome to our channel, where history comes alive. If you're passionate about discovering the untold stories of our past, make sure to subscribe and stay with us until the end, because this is a story you won't forget. When we talk about World War II, most people start with Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. But the roots of this conflict run far deeper, back to the ashes of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, humiliated Germany. They were blamed for the war, burdened with impossible reparations, and stripped of territory. This treaty planted the seeds of resentment. But what many don't know is that powerful nations, Britain, France, and even the United States, contributed to this instability. Economic depression, fear of communism, and nationalism created a powder keg across Europe. Germany wasn't alone. Italy, under Mussolini, and Japan, hungry for expansion, were also waiting for the moment to strike. Meanwhile, Western powers largely practiced appeasement. Why? Because they feared another great war and underestimated just how dangerous these rising powers were. By the time Hitler invaded Poland in 1939, the world was already set on a collision course. One of the most startling truths is how many secret deals and backdoor negotiations happened before and during the war. For example, the infamous Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact in 1939, a non-aggression agreement between Hitler's Germany and Stalin's Soviet Union. Yes, the two future allies were briefly allies. They even divided up Poland between themselves before Germany turned on the USSR in 1941. Even the United States, before officially entering the war, was making money by selling weapons and supplies to both sides through the Lend-Lease program. Behind the scenes, nations were balancing morality with politics and economics. World War II resulted in the deaths of over 70 million people. But these are more than numbers. Civilian casualties in China, Soviet losses in the Battle of Stalingrad, and the horrors of the Holocaust reveal a depth of suffering that often gets overshadowed by military strategy. Consider the rape of Nanking, where hundreds of thousands of Chinese civilians were brutally killed by Japanese forces. Or the bombing of Dresden, where Allied forces dropped over 3,900 tons of bombs on a German city filled with refugees. These tragedies often get less attention in Western narratives, but are crucial for understanding the global pain inflicted by the war. Did you know that millions of soldiers from colonies, India, Africa, the Caribbean, fought in World War II for European powers? They served in brutal conditions and returned to their homelands hoping for freedom and respect, only to face continued oppression. Their contributions were enormous, yet their stories rarely make it into mainstream history books. World War II wasn't just fought by Europeans and Americans. It was a truly global war involving people from all continents. The war was a technological revolution. Codebreakers at Bletchley Park, led by Alan Turing, cracked the Nazi Enigma code, saving millions of lives. Meanwhile, the Manhattan Project was underway, a secret U.S. program to develop the atomic bomb. This resulted in the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, decisions that remain controversial to this day. Some argue it ended the war quickly. Others say it was unnecessary, as Japan was already close to surrendering. Was it a warning to Japan or a message to the Soviet Union? When the war ended in 1945, the world celebrated peace. But a new war was beginning, the Cold War. Former allies, the USA and USSR, became fierce enemies, dividing the world into East and West. The seeds of today's global tensions were planted right there. Also, many Nazi scientists were secretly recruited by the U.S. under Operation Paperclip to work on rockets and space technology. Yes, the same people who worked for Hitler were later building NASA's future. 6 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust, alongside millions of others, Roma, disabled people, political prisoners, and more. It was a genocide on an industrial scale. But did the world act fast enough? Evidence shows that Allied leaders had knowledge of concentration camps years before they were liberated. The truth is, some leaders were hesitant to act decisively due to political, military, and even anti-Semitic factors. World War II shaped the modern world. The United Nations was created. The European Union grew out of a desire to prevent another war. And global power shifted permanently. Yet many of the ideologies, nationalism, racism, expansionism, are still visible in different forms today. We live in a world built from the ruins of that war, and understanding its full truth is more important than ever. World War II wasn't just a war of tanks, planes, and battleships. It was a war of ideas, deception, bravery, cruelty, and unimaginable sacrifice. Its stories are layered, filled with light and dark, heroes and villains, victories and atrocities. And that's why history must be remembered, not just as facts, but as lessons. If this video opened your eyes to a side of World War II you never knew, please like, share, and subscribe. And let us know in the comments what story you want us to uncover next. Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth may not always be comfortable, but it's always worth knowing.